In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how we make a slab box. And here's an example that I made a couple years ago, but I'll show you how to make it and have it have straight sides. Okay. The first step that you're going to do is get a piece of newsprint paper. We'll have those out on the counter by the door. And you're going to measure out two circles, two squares. One square will be 5 inches. The other one will be 5 1/4 inches. I've already measured this one out, and I'll show you how we're going to measure out the squares. Now here's a ruler, and as you can see, the inches are marked by the long lines with numbers by them. So 5 inches would go from this long line with 5 all the way down to 0. 5 1/4 inches goes to this line. So I'm going to measure out 3 marks along here and then draw a straight line on each side and have my square. Okay, so now I've measured out, I've made little marks on the paper, and so I just lay the ruler between the marks, take my pen or pencil, and connect them. So now on my paper I have my 2 squares all drawn out, and I'm going to take scissors from the tool drawer and just cut those out. And now that I have my 2 squares, my 5-inch square and my 5 1/4 inch square, I measure out and I cut out each square. To do that, I just take my square, my paper pattern, and I'm going to lay it on the clay. I take my knife and I just follow the edge of my paper pattern, and I cut out the square. Now while I'm doing it, you might notice that there's multiple squares out, and those are so I can make the entire box. Okay. To make a box, or for the top and bottom of the box, I need the square that is 5 1/4 inches in length on the sides. And the reason for that is if I were making a box out of paper, I wouldn't need to add 1/4 inch. But with the slab, it's about 1/4 inch thick, and so if I add, you can see here, if I add 1/4 inch on here, I can line up my slab with the wall, and there's that little 1/4 inch gap there, so my next slab can go on right next to it, and I can have that nice butt joint there. It's going to be strong enough to hold everything together, and I have room to add everything on there. The other thing that you can notice here is that I cut out all 6 squares. So I have my other big one, these are my 2 big ones, and I have 4 small ones. The 5-inch squares are going to be for the sides of my box, and the 5 1/4 are for the top and bottom. And so once you have them all cut out, they kind of stiffen up as you're going through and wedging more clay and attaching them and doing all of those steps. What you're going to do is take one of your 5 1/4 inch squares, and I'm ready to really just get this all put together, and so I'm going to score along all the edges. So I do one direction all the way around, come back and do another direction all the way around. Notice I'm scoring it nice and deep. With the slab box, we want to use stiff slabs versus like the soft slabs like we did for the jar. The reason for that is we want the stiffness of the slab to help hold our box so that it's square and all the sides are straight. And if we use soft slabs, or if we don't take the time to make all six squares, then they don't have time to set up and they might flop around when we pick them up. Okay, so here you can see I can pick it up and it holds its shape pretty well. Okay, now I want to attach these, and there's a pattern to how you want to score them. Okay, and so to score them, I do an edge there, and then I do the next edge over, And then what I do is I do the face on the opposite side. So I'll show you why we do that here in a moment. And then I put slip on the face. So I have kind of a U-shaped scored, but it's on the edge face. Now when I attach this, I put the face that's scored in a corner. Let's line that up. So the face is in a corner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze with my fingers and push down. So I get a good downward pressure to help that join there kind of blend together. And I take my next slab, same pattern, okay? So I do the edge, face, and put slip on the face. Okay. Now I'm going to put that face in the corner against the edge that I scored there. So I line up the corner and I push the clay together going up along that seam, and then I come back and I push it down so it bonds. You could push it down first and then up, and I'm done with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do these other sides, and next time you'll see it, all 4 sides will be on. Okay, so here all of the 4 sides are scored together, and what I want to do now is I'm going to roll out a coil and I'm going to put them on the inside joins all the way around the bottom and up the walls, and only on the inside of the box. Okay, I'm not going to do them on the outside. So I roll out my coils. And you can do the vertical ones first or the bottom first. What I do is I put them in, I support the outside, and then I push that clay into the join. Okay, all the way up. Pinch off the extra. And you're going to do that all along the inside walls and on the bottom. So here, I'll show you on the bottom. I just kind of drop it in. Then I go along and push that in to that join. And I go back and smooth them all out before I'm done. Okay. Next, I'll have those all put in and show you the next step. Okay, so now I have all the coils put in. The next part is I want to take a wooden rib. Let me show you. And you can see right along this seam and along the bottom there's some slip kind of oozing out. I just take that nice square side and I drag it along there. Okay, I clean off the extra slip and clay, and I'll go along this side. And if I alternate going back and forth, I keep getting kind of chunks of clay off, but I'm getting that corner nice and square. Okay. As you keep going, you'll get less and less clay coming off of there. And you have a nice edge. If you want to get that really smooth, which I would suggest you do, you can switch to a rubber rib or a metal rib with just that straight side. Just have it go up both sides until it's nice and smooth. Okay, one thing that you'll notice is after I smooth it out, it kind of deforms this, so it's pointy here, and there's some parts that are uneven. Just take your knife, make sure it's nice and clean, and just cut those just that little bit, you can just cut that off, and then your lid is going to fit nicely on top. Okay, you can line it up. The next part that you need with the lid, and I'll just show you what it'll look like when it's done, is right in here there's a coil attached all the way around. And what that does is when it's on the box, it keeps it from sliding off. So if someone picks up your box to look at it and it's tilted at an angle, the lid's not going to fall off because it has that little coil on the inside. So that's an important thing to do. For the rest of your box, you'll need to add legs to it. These legs were squared off, and so you can add square legs, round legs, pointy legs. It doesn't really matter what they look like as long as they're there, and so any shape is fair game. But you'll also want a theme. And as you may have learned in English, is that a theme is kind of a common idea for your box. And so if you liked Garfield, you could do different pictures of Garfield on all four sides, and you could have some type of Garfield-like handle on top of your box. You could have Garfield feet or pizzas or lasagnas for the feet. And so have fun with the theme and come up with a theme for your whole box and do those decorations. You can carve them in the sides, you could draw them on and paint them. That's up to you. But your box needs to have a theme for the whole thing. A quick recap, the box is going to be, the sides of the box are going to be 5-inch squares. You're going to cut those out with paper and then use those as a pattern to cut out all the squares so they're the same size. The bottom and the top are 5 1/4 inches. The lid needs a coil on the inside to go inside this little hole to lock it into place. You need to have an interesting handle, meaning that it can't be a ball on the top of your box. It needs to be something that's interesting, and it should relate to the theme that you choose for your box. And also, it needs to have some feet so it's not flat on the bottom. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know, and I will be happy to answer them.